The Whispering Pines, a tale of Yamauba. Deep within the shadowy heart of the Japanese mountains, where the trees grow so tall they seem to pierce the heavens, there is a place that no map dares to mark. The villagers call it Okumiyama, the deep mountain, a forbidden forest where the sun never truly reaches the ground, and the air is thick with ancient secrets. They say that those who enter Okumiyama do not return, and those who speak of it do so only in hushed tones. Among the many legends that shroud this cursed place, none is more feared than that of Yamauba, the mountain witch. Her tale is one of hunger, an insatiable hunger for human flesh, driven by a soul twisted by centuries of isolation and bitterness. Yet, her hunger is not just for the body, it is for the spirit, the hope, the life that she herself was denied. In the village at the mountain's edge lived a young woman named Aiko. She was known for her beauty and her restless spirit, always dreaming of adventures far beyond the village's borders. The elders often warned her of the dangers that lurked in the mountains, especially the tale of Yamauba, but Aiko would laugh it off, dismissing the stories as the ramblings of old fools. One chilly autumn evening, when the harvest moon hung low in the sky, Aiko's curiosity got the better of her. She decided to venture into Okumiyama, convinced that she could prove the elders wrong and return unscathed. Armed with nothing but a small lantern and a determination to conquer her fears, she set off alone into the forest. As Aiko delved deeper into the woods, the trees seemed to close in around her, their twisted branches reaching out like skeletal fingers. The path beneath her feet became narrow and treacherous, the air growing colder with each step. But Aiko pressed on, driven by a stubborn pride that refused to let her turn back. Hours passed, and the forest grew darker and more oppressive. The once familiar sounds of the night, crickets chirping, leaves rustling, faded into an eerie silence. Aiko's lantern flickered, casting long, dancing shadows on the gnarled trunks. It was then that she heard it, a soft, melodic humming, like the lullaby of a mother soothing her child. Drawn by the sound, Aiko followed it to a small clearing, where she saw an old woman sitting by a fire. The woman's hair was wild and white as snow, her clothes tattered and stained, but her face was gentle, almost grandmotherly. She looked up as Aiko approached, her eyes gleaming in the firelight. "Come closer, my dear," the woman beckoned, her voice sweet and warm. "You must be cold and tired. Rest by the fire and share my meal." Despite the warnings that echoed in her mind, Aiko felt strangely comforted by the woman's presence. She sat down beside her, accepting the bowl of stew offered to her. The aroma was intoxicating, rich and savory, and Aiko found herself ravenous. As she ate, the old woman watched her with an unsettling intensity, her smile growing wider with each bite. "You're a brave one, to come so deep into the mountains alone," the woman said, her voice dripping with false kindness. "Not many have the courage to seek out Yamauba." At the mention of the name, Aiko froze, the spoon halfway to her lips. The stew that had smelled so delicious now tasted bitter and foul in her mouth. She looked up at the old woman, her heart pounding. "Yamauba," she whispered, her voice trembling. The old woman's smile twisted into something monstrous, her eyes darkening like storm clouds. "Yes, child," she hissed, her voice no longer sweet but sharp and cold as ice. "You have come seeking me, and now you shall never leave." Before Aiko could react, the old woman lunged at her, her hands transforming into claws, her mouth stretching into a grotesque maw filled with sharp, rotting teeth. Aiko screamed and tried to flee, but the forest itself seemed to conspire against her, the trees closing in, the roots tangling around her feet. Yamauba's laughter echoed through the forest as she dragged Aiko back to the clearing, her strength far beyond that of a frail old woman. "You wanted adventure, didn't you?" Yamauba sneered, her breath hot and rancid. "Now you will become a part of this mountain, as so many others have before you." Aiko's cries for help were swallowed by the darkness, her fate sealed as Yamauba began her feast. The trees stood silent witness to the horror, their branches heavy with the weight of forgotten souls. A warning to the skeptical. To those who scoff at the legends of Yamauba, I offer this warning: the mountains are ancient, and their secrets are older still. Yamauba is as real as the earth beneath your feet, a spirit of vengeance born from the pain of 1,000 lifetimes. Do not dismiss her as a mere story, for she thrives on the disbelief of the foolish and the arrogant. She waits in the shadows of the forest, her hunger never sated, her wrath ever burning. If you dare to venture into the mountains, heed the warnings of those who came before you. Do not stray from the path, do not follow the sweet sounds of her lullaby, and above all, do not eat the food she offers. For once Yamauba sets her eyes upon you, there is no escape. Believe in her, or suffer the fate of those who did not. The mountains remember, and so does she.